Data conversion and migration strategy. In this video, you will learn how to design, plan, and execute the right SAP data conversion and migration strategy for your project to ensure your solution contains a consistent data set at go live. The video is divided into the following topics: data conversion scope and strategy, key data conversion activities, and how to successfully execute your conversion strategy. So let's look at the data conversion scope and strategy first. When you do your conversion strategy, you need first to be clear on what is the scope of the conversion that you require for your project. And that translates into what is the key data structure, elements that you need, what are the transaction data that you need to convert, and what are the master data that you need to convert. Now, this is something that should be well defined, at least the conceptual concept should be defined during the business blueprint, and your business blueprint document should outline what are the key data structure elements that you need, and also roughly what are the data conversion considerations. So after you have your business blueprint design document, you should have a pretty good scope already. Then you need to look at the conversion method. Are you going to do this by manually, or are you going to do it automated, and do you require any tools? So as you prepare your project, you should have an initial scoping and you should have the conversion method outlined. Now it has to be finalized and confirmed during the business blueprint, but you should have it early on, so in case you need tools that you can take action to purchase such. So about the tool, so the automated approach, as it says here, you might not need to purchase it, you might go in a way where you develop it. So again, the conversion method is quite a key part to get defined. Then you should also do a data assessment, and I know everyone will be busy during the business blueprint with the functional design, but you really need to have an assessment of what are the data volumes, what are the quality of data that you have, what are the sources where the data is coming from. And it all goes into your conversion readiness, because if you see a major issue with data quality or the volumes are very large, then you need to make sure that you have an automated tool, for instance. So you could say here that data quality and automation is kind of interlinked, and data volumes and automation is interlinked, and quality is all interlinked, because if you have a mess, you might need tools to help you. And again, what is the number of sources, volume, quality, it is all interlinked to the decision of how you're going to do it. So conversion readiness, how do I ensure I'm ready? Well, that is to be clear on what are the scope, the method, and based on the data assessment, those three elements will kind of give you a good idea of the workload you need to undergo, and potential problem that you could face. So conversion readiness, you need to have as a measurement, you need to have a criteria for when do you say I'm ready for my data conversion, both in terms of I can do the work, I have the tools, but also what is the criteria where the data that you are preparing is in a shape where you can convert it and go live. And one way of defining that is number 5 here, that's the test run. So what is your approach to doing a dry test run? Are you going to do it, or are you not going to do it? And what is the approach for the actual cutover? You need to have all of that scoped out, documented in your strategy early on. Now it has to be refined when you get into actually preparing your data conversion, but you need to have the high level approach for this. So let's try and map it to the timeline. So again, we use the the chart here that you've seen before, where we have the project phases in the top, and then let's try to plot in the data conversion activities that you as a PM needs to ensure is planned and executed. Project preparation. You need to do the initial data conversion strategy, and that is the data conversion strategy deliverable, and you should go through the elements, the checklist on the previous slide, where you need to have a decision made to this. Now it might be finalized later, but you need an initial approach and assessment of how you're going to do it. And if that analysis shows that you need to have automated tools, well, then you might need to have a proof of concept of such data conversion tools. And it might be that the proof of concept is to determine not which tool is the best, but if you're going to go with a standard tool or you're going to do the development yourself. Then during Business Blueprint, you have your data conversion design finalized and carved in stone and signed off. And this is design of the data conversion scope and approach, and it's normally documented as part of a Business Blueprint document. Including, you need to get, when you go through the Business Blueprint where you're doing your as-is analysis and the to-be analysis, you need to also do an analysis of the conversion, data conversion scope, volume, sources that you will require. It's an important part of the Business Blueprint phase. Realization phase, you will need to then, depending on your decision, might need to build data conversion programs or processes, and you need to document those and you need to test those. Final preparation, dry run. Are we going to do a dry run of the data conversion? I would strongly recommend you to do that and not just rely over the actual cutover. Now, some projects do more than one dry run, some do only one. And along all of this, along your project, you really need to have a focus of data cleansing. And this is why I prefer to do the data assessment actually as part of the project preparation, and bring an awareness that data cleansing is required. And if you postpone it and said it will be done and this team is doing it, then you'll end up at the end where you might need to cut the scope or take shortcuts that you really don't want to do. So we will in the next lesson look more about data cleansing. But for now, let's try and look at how the checklist or the lessons learned for successfully execution of your conversion strategy. So identify the data scope sources during Business Blueprint, and I would say do it even earlier. And it's scope plus sign off. You need to have the scope, you need to get sign off of it. Keep it simple. Only use automated tools if you have the right skills to support the tools. So again, the proof of concept for deciding on tools versus development versus manual. Make sure that proof of concept also include an assessment of, do I have people who are knowledgeable about this? You can have the salespeople from some of the best data load and extraction tools out there, and they can come and they can show you all the charts and how easy the tool is, but you need to make sure that you have someone in your team that can also operate it. So if skills is available, yes, go for the automate approach, because it will give you a consistent and repeatable approach. Now, if no skills is available, don't go that way. No matter what you do, make sure you document it and you communicate the process and schedule to everyone. I am not going to do the automated tool because of this, or I'm going to do it, or I'm going to do a combination of manual entry, automated tools, some configure the standard SAP loading process that's available, and so everyone understands when they start the project what are we going to do, and they can make the best design around that. Because you will be relying on a lot of your teams to come with the schedule and the estimate of the timing of things. And if they don't know what process you're going to adapt, or they assume that there's tools available and someone will take care of operating the tools, then you'll have a disaster when you start, when you need to to use the tool because there's no one to execute it. And again, track data preparation and execution closely. And again, I'm a big fan of the tracking sheets. Have you gone down a road where you're using tools? You might have a tool support for monitoring this, and it might be a good idea that you do a dashboard. And why do I bring up the dashboard here and not during the other elements where we are having tracking sheets like testing and training? Well, this one is mainly related to the data cleansing, which is a long ongoing process, and I'll get back to this in the next session or the next lesson, where we'll try and look at this cleansing dashboard. But you need to track your execution. Plan one or more data conversion dry runs, at least one, I would say. It might have a reduced scope, but you need to see one dry run. Otherwise, you are having a huge risk which might end up in a no-go decision to the go live. So plan at least one data conversion dry run. If you want to plan more, you can, but make sure that you then also communicate what you're going to do so everyone knows and you have a sufficient time to actually do the task. Okay, again, it cannot be said enough. Data cleansing started early, and we'll get into much more about the data quality and data cleansing in the next lessons. This is an item which I've seen project fail based on and be very successful because it is done proper. So we'll get around this in more detail in the next lesson. Just to show you an example of a data load plan, which is something that you should produce. This is from a last project, a multiple global rollout, but this was used to give everyone an idea of the data elements to be converted, how they're interlinked, and also to communicate how I'm going to handle each of them. Okay, let's do a summary, and as always, we'll be available in the forum if there's any questions. But you should have now an understanding of how to design, plan, and execute your right data conversion and migration strategy for your project. Thank you.